The trees grow tall in Bugaboo Creek, but the long road from the valley of the Columbia River into this remote place is a logger's road. The economics of timber justify a road. The economics of mountaineering do not. So mountaineers must do a deal with the devil before they travel their burden trail. Today, that burden trail is far shorter than that taken by Conrad Kain in 1916 when he came to climb the Bugaboos Spires. Kain, who is best known for leading the first ascent of Mount Robson in 1913, was an Austrian, born on August 10, 1883, the son of a miner. He took to the outdoor life at a young age and developed an early ambition to travel. He left his homeland in May 1909 at the age of 25 to take up a job as a guide with the newly formed Alpine Club of Canada. His first encounter with the Bugaboo Spires was in 1910, whilst working as a guide to a topographical survey expedition in the Purcell Mountains. He returned to the Purcells again in 1914 and made the first ascent of Mount Farnham, about 20 miles southeast of the Bugaboos. Eventually, in 1916, Kain managed to return to explore the spires which had so impressed him when he first saw them in 1910. He made his approach along Bugaboo Creek after crossing the Columbia River at Spilly-McKean, a little further north than the crossing used nowadays at Briscoe. His journey took 2 full days. Now it is a matter of a few hours. The burden trail passes through the high colonnade of a forest that has, so far, escaped destruction by the chainsaw. The trail climbs along a fork of Bugaboo Creek for 3.5 kilometres before it reaches the Conrad Kain climbing hut situated between the tree line and the lower edge of the Crescent Glacier. The unblinking eye of Snowpatch Spire maintains a constant watch over the Bugaboo forests, a silent witness to the torture of the trees of life by humanity's insatiable demand for timber. The timbermen who came to Bugaboo Creek stayed to make the most of the vast forests here, but the miners who came left empty-handed. All they found were bugaboos, land devoid of minerals with economic value. The legacy of their disappointment is the name they left behind, the Bugaboos. Had it been otherwise, much of this wilderness would have been scarred by spoil heaps and the rusting wreckage of industrial infrastructure. Neither mining nor deforestation is kind to any landscape or to the ecology within it. Despite these mountains receiving some of the highest winter snowfall in the world, the Bugaboo Glacier is in retreat. Descriptions of glaciers in the adjacent Rockies given by Conrad Kain in his memoirs suggest that in 1916 the Bugaboo Glacier would have reached the very edge of the forest, and the Crescent Glacier would have extended below the altitude of the modern climbing hut. It is no coincidence that this massive glacial shrinkage has occurred in parallel with the loss of primary ancestral forests everywhere to human plunder. Above the ladder, the trail leaves the dense lower forests. The forest thins out, not in response to the cruelty of the chainsaw, but as a product of an ecological balance. The tree line is a natural frontier with the alpine zone, and there are signs that this frontier continues to move higher as the permanent glaciers retreat. Young trees are colonising primitive soils within the terminal moraines, regurgitated by the shrinking glacier. It is here that the Conrad Kain hut is located, a base from which today's climbers can quickly reach the central group of spires, and a meeting place where stories and experiences are exchanged, and new friendships made. An early start is essential in the Bugaboos. Summer afternoons, often bring thunderstorms, and being caught out in one on an exposed granite spire is not a desirable proposition. Aiming to reach the Bugaboo snowpatch col in time to see the sun rising above the Rockies to the east allows a good 8 hours to get back off the mountain by mid-afternoon. The col, situated at an altitude of 9,000 feet, is a narrow gap between towering pillars of granite. It separates the larger Bowel Glacier to the west from the Crescent Glacier and is strung across the space between Bugaboo and Snowpatch Spires like a tightrope, just managing to clear the tide of ice on either side. In the winter, the two glaciers manage a brief embrace across this seasonal bridge of rock. Getting to the col involves a zigzag approach up to and then across the Crescent Glacier, before climbing 45-degree slopes for about 800 feet up a couloir under the north face of Snowpatch Spire. A month has passed since midsummer, and the banks of moraine abandoned by the glacier lie exposed above the Conrad Kain hut. The retreat of the seasonal snow line is well underway, although it has not yet reached its furthest extent. Soon we step off the unstable, bouldery terrain and onto the seasonal snowfields still fringing the Crescent Glacier. In this magical twilight world of daybreak, the light reflects from the surface of the glacier and sounds echo from adjacent granite walls. Sensation is crisp, like the freshness of the new day.
You fell to shape this morning, again.
I left my razor.
From the Kain hut, it takes between an hour and a half and 2 hours to reach the Bugaboo Snowpatch col, where we stand in the open jaws between these two iconic spires. At the col, we pause and prepare for both of the routes which we plan to climb from this strategic launching pad. Our first objective is the south summit of Bugaboo Spire, by the classic route pioneered by Conrad Kain in 1916.